Maynard, thank you so much for being willing to do this interview for the congregation on stewardship of creation. And welcome everyone, thanks for joining us. Maynard is a member of the congregation. He currently serves as the Vice President for Academic Affairs at Virginia Wesleyan University, and I am thrilled to have this time to talk about his love of creation. Maynard, you are a biology professor, and I'm just curious as to what prompted you to go into biology.
I think I've always liked animals and things around me. I remember as a little kid playing with things that we find in our backyard, snails and bugs and things like that. Or when we go on hikes, I just remember being fascinated by things. And even second grade, they would give prizes for different things, like if you behaved yourself or if you got all your work done. And every time I would pick these little cards that had animals on them. So I remember being a little kid, just being fascinated with these animals throughout the world. And ultimately then went on and had some courses in biology where we could do a little bit more and engage with it and find out about these amazing and complex organisms and ecosystems that they live in. And it just kind of stuck with me. And I wanted to take what I had learned about that and then share that with other people. And that's kind of led me to be an educator and kind of led me to share, get kind of what I want to say is, by knowing the ecosystems and by knowing about the animals, I've come to appreciate them and love them. And therefore I want to protect them. And so I want to give other people that experience where they have the opportunity to go to Central America and see some of the rainforest or something like that, or see the organisms in a drop of water that they might not know about. And so they might think twice about, what am I dumping and how's that then affecting everything downstream from here? And so that's been really important to me.
Very nice. So how do you see God at work in creation?
One thing for me is the level of complexity. And so inside of us are all sorts of cells, and then inside are molecules, and things like our DNA has all the codes for every cell in our body and the instructions on how to make that. And it knows how to build these proteins and assemble them into cells and assemble them into organs and assemble them into an organism. And that has just always fascinated me, the levels of complexity and how all of these things work together. And then thinking big, the way organisms are interacting in an ecosystem to be roughly stable. And what happens to one member of the system can potentially affect others, and then that affects others. And just thinking about how the diversity of life developed on our planet, really, really has fascinated me. And that's kind of a characteristic about the world that I see God's fingerprints in that.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, isn't it? Just really so amazing, the variety and the complexity of God's creation. Yeah. Well, what are some ways that you personally practice the stewardship of creation?
I think there are a lot of little ways that everybody can take part in, and then that adds up to a lot. So being consistent in using less water and recycling, and knowing where our waste goes and ways that we can minimize that. For me, it's also understanding the potential implications of our actions. And again, it goes back to what we know, we'll love, and then protect. And if we don't go out and go on hikes and go fishing or go swimming out in Chesapeake Bay, we're not going to appreciate these places, and we're not going to care about them to take care of them. So I think for me, establishing that connection with the world around us has been really important.
Yeah, and that's so true, that the more we spend time in it, the more we come to value it and want to take care of it. Do you have any suggestions for how we at First Lutheran can be better stewards of creation?
I think we have kind of a job to periodically remind people about, and that's kind of what this is doing, remind people of our ethical obligation to be stewards of creation, good stewards. And so that could be things like the stewardship drive. It could be Sunday school things from time to time where we might focus on that for a while, or maybe Earth Day, we could do something about that.
Mm.
But I think it's in the prayers, the second stanza of the prayers always talks about creation and our obligation to do that. That's really a weekly reminder of that we're called to care for creation.
Yeah, yeah. Any final thoughts or anything else that you would like to say about faith, creation, God's generosity?
Sometimes I'm just amazed by it all and kind of blown away by just the depth of these interconnections and the complexity around us. So I can't help but love it and want to take care of it and urge other people to do the same thing.
Thank you so much, Maynard.
Thanks.
All right.